Hey guys, this is Avery. We're going to get started in a little bit with this fabulous machine today. I'm going to go check with Jess real quick to make sure that we're up and running. All right, so when you get on board, just say hi. Jess is going to monitor it a little bit so that she can answer any questions just in case my screen goes boop and I won't be able to see what you're saying. All right, so we're going to introduce you to the Baby Lock Altair. This is a sewing combination embroidery. It is a 9.5 by 14 embroidery field, which is amazing. Okay, so you're going to get this fabulous big hoop that you can put over top of your head. I mean, it can fit, go right through your body if you're small enough, right? But this right here has this big, large hoop. It comes with 3 hoops, ladies, okay? So if you're embroidering, you have large capabilities, big stuff you can do. And I thought I had eliminated that noise. Let me fix that real quick. There we go. Now you won't hear any more funny sounds in the background. But notice, guys, that you have on your embroidery hoop these little scans. What that does is it allows you to take your phone with the app that comes with Baby Lock. You download it. You could take your hoop, what's inside your hoop, you take a picture of it on your phone, you transfer it to the sewing machine, and it will show you what you have in your hoop, any previous embroidery, any pockets, any blocks, you know, maybe even a placket, maybe a collar, maybe you're doing a corner of a napkin. Well, you can make your embroidery placement by simply taking a picture, sending it to your machine. It is with all of the hoops. So you have the big hoop, you have a smaller 4x4, and you have a 5x7. And any of the hoops that you want to purchase, you can purchase with the grid, and it will work. Any other hoop you can also use too. It's just that if you want to take the picture and be able to make proper placements or fast placements of your embroidery, it is awesome. It comes with that. It also comes with a fabulous spool stand that will fit on the back of the machine so that you can have 2 spools of thread at one time. What's nice about that is you can use large threads and be able to thread your machine up without having to put it in the well and do all kinds of stuff. It's just an easier way to put your spools on your machine and quicker to thread and things like that. That's more convenient. We're going to go to the machine, and if you have any questions, let me know. And by the way, guys, our grunge motor cell is on sale right now. Okay, so you will be able to purchase that until midnight tonight for 15% off. I'm going to see if I can see this comment here. Okay. All right. So we're going to turn it to the machine. I'm going to get comfy, guys, okay? So what we're going to do, I'm just going to explain to you how this machine operates and how it works. It is a sewing machine and embroidery machine. So when you put your embroidery unit on, the embroidery unit goes on, and if you're sewing with the machine, you can leave the unit on, and it will take that positioning or embroidery arm, puts it to the side so that you can still sew with it. If you require more space over here, the unit will come off, and you would simply put it in your cabinet or in your case. Now, in this cabinet, it does have a spot for your embroidery unit to fit. Also, this cabinet has hoop areas too. Or you can put it in a big drawer like that. So it's up to you how you want to do it. But I do suggest that you store your embroidery unit so it doesn't get fondled and played with and pushed around and things like that. When you turn the machine on, it has a really big screen, as you see, guys. So let's say we turn the machine on. It'll wake up. Hi guys. It will wake up, and when you do is you can also change this like a computer, so it would have your face up there, or maybe your kids or your loved ones. All right, all that's right there on that video. You can change. You just simply touch the screen. When you touch the screen, because this is a sewing and embroidery machine, it's going to move that unit. You're going to hear it move. And like with all our Baby Lock machines, it's going to do that. Now, if you require that you want to embroider, you're just going to simply hit embroidery. If you want to create your own embroidery designs, clip art, things like that, then you're going to touch the IQ Designer, and that allows you to do anything you want. And by the way, the bear is on the Solaris. The Solaris is the machine above the it's above our Altair, which gives us a much larger embroidery hoop and more functional features as for sewing and embroidery. And it also has a built-in scanning feature that you don't have to use your phone, okay? So that's the Solaris. And there she is there. She is 13.1 inch from needle to that inner arm where the girl is standing on the screen. This right here is the machine I used to have at home. I used to have one called the Destiny 2, and it had all the upgrades. So it was very similar to this machine, but it was closer to the equivalent to the Solaris. But the Altair is the newest version of our machines. So if you want to sew with this machine, you're going to simply touch, because if you decide if you want to design, embroider already done things from a USB. Oh, by the way, it is wireless. So you can send it to your phone, from your computer, wirelessly, embroidery designs. You don't have to put it on a stick. If you want to sew, you're just simply going to hit sewing. It's going to question you, and it moves that hoop out of the way. Happy New Year. And now we can sew with it. Now, what I want to show you guys, it does, because it's a top-of-the-line machine, comes with 14 specialty feet. So you're going to get a jewelry box, like so. And it opens, unlocks right here. What you want to do is when you have a Baby Lock symbol like that, make sure the Baby Lock is towards you and that your machine model is towards you. And that's how you put your top on, because if you put it on this way, it won't fit. But what's nice is that this little tray, top tray, can be used as a little staging of your feet. I love that, because what it is, your bobbin case, your embroidery bobbin case, your sewing bobbin case is in there. See how pretty that is? And you have that little stage, so you can just grab the foot you need, and you can see they're listed by letters, and it's very, very simple to use. The blank ones are for you to buy extra feet, but it comes with 14 of your basic needs. It also comes with your embroidery foot with the beam, which that means that your laser or your needle beam is a positioning tool that shines through the foot, which shows you exactly where your needle is going to be. It also, guys, come with a straight stitch plate, which even has your marks on here for 1/4 inch and 5/8 and all that. It's all not just metric, it is also inches, okay? But the needle plate comes with it. It is a straight stitch plate, so that when you're centering, when you're doing shears and doing a lot of straight stitch quilting, some people prefer using the straight stitch foot or plate, so that you don't have any movement of the needle, and also, too, it won't eat your fabric. Now, we don't have problems with any of our machines in the store to eat our fabric, but it just gives you that ability to have that secured feeling. And also, do you notice how wide these teeth are right here? Well, it has a huge feed dog that, as you see here, it's very large. So when you sew with this machine, you're not going to get a movement of wigglies, because it's got a lot more traction than most machines. So that comes with, and it comes with a lot more accessories in here that you will use as well. But those are your basic things that come with the machine. I like it because I can put this on the side of the machine, and there it's all nice and done. If I want to go to a vacation, I can put all this in here. and I'm ready to roll. And I can just, it will then fit, clip, lock in place, and it will go here into my machine. And I can just put my case on it, my cover, and run. All right, so that's really cool. It comes with a walking foot. What a lot of people call this a walking foot, but this is called a dual feed in its version. It's a skinny one. They had one before that was much more bulkier. This one does not have any resistance in the back, so when it goes on your machine, it doesn't have anything dragging the back of your quilt when you're using your thicker fabrics or denims or upholstery or any other hard to feed fabric. It has a wheel that goes on, right here on the machine. It has a presser foot that snaps on, and you can get different feet, okay, depending on the type of sewing you do. It does come with a 1/4-inch foot, I mean, the standard foot, which I'm going to put on real quick. And they all snap on. And what it does, it has those lines for your seam allowance. You can also use those lines with the needle guide beam, okay? The needle beam or the guide beam is your seam allowance. Nice thing about this is that this is a foot that rolls the top of your fabric, not grip it with teeth, and it will give you a smoother, better result. So you're going to love this foot. I'll show you that before at the end of the show. Now, one of the things I'm going to do is sit down with you guys just for a quick moment and just go through the stitching of this machine. Real quick, I'm not going to give you a full demonstration. I'm just going to show you some wild functions that will makes your life sewing, the sewing much easier if you have a cool machine like this. First thing, it brings up the screen that allows you to see exactly what you're getting. What I do love about my machine is I have a true basting stitch. I have different needle positions, and it shows me where my needle positions are as I change different screens. All right, you can see how things are changing. I can also see the width of my adjustment before I stitch it. This is very handy, guys, when you're sewing with a machine. You don't want to keep on changing and touching and stitching and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. It does give you some quick results right here. If you don't like that blue thread, you can change it to red thread. If you want a different color, you can change it. Just depends on what you're doing, okay? Some people like to be able to alter that color or those threads. You have tabs of stitches. 2, 3. You have a buttonhole group. This is your side stitching fabrics feature. That means you can sew a patch on without ever having to stop and turn your fabric. You have a quilt group. That Q group means quilting. All of these stitches here are fundamental quilting stitches that everyone loves to use when they're quilting. And what's also awesome about this is when you choose a quilt stitch, the increment of changing is done by quarter, not done by half. So you get tinier, quicker adjustments from us quilters who need that teeny little adjustment. And if you go to a regular stitch, sometimes that width is a little too big and sometimes it's a little too small. Well, now that they have solved that issue, love that function. You have you have these stitches here. This is couching stitches and hand look quilting stitches. And what this does is when you put the clear thread in, it looks like a sashiko stitch. That's what the S stands for. You have tapered stitches, and these are the stitches that you can taper right down to a point. We did not have those functions on our machines in the past. We had it for our zigzags, but not these fabulous stitches here. And that's nice for quilters as well. Back to our straight stitch. You always want to go to stitch number 3 or stitch number 1 or number 4. These are your standard everyday sewing stitches. Both of these are the same stitch. It's just the way it performs. If you go to number 3 and you take this lock stitch and place it in place, that little button here where it has a little hooky-doo and that little button dot what that does is that if I'm on stitch 3, it's going to sew forward, then backwards, and then forward again. And then when you end your sewing stitch by hitting reverse, it ends it with a reverse tack stitch. Number 4 is going to be a stitch that is made to sew in place. When you sew in place, it starts sewing again, and then you hit the bullseye, the little button here, the lock stitch function. I call it a bullseye. That's what I do. That's how a lot of my friends and customers know that is the bullseye versus the reverse. And it will then stop in place and then lock it. If you engage your scissor, whenever you hit a reverse or a lock, the machine is automatically going to lock your stitch or reverse your stitch. And you know what's nice? Is that it's going to also cut your thread and lift the foot, because you're going to activate all 3 of those fabulous functions. So I've activated all 3 of those fabulous functions, and now I'm going to take multiple weights of fabric, because I want you to see that not only you have automatic tension on this fabulous machine, is that you also have an automatic press-a-foot lifter. So the thicker the fabric, the machine senses how much thickness you have underneath the foot, and it adjusts the tension and the pressure so that you get proper feeding. And what I'm going to do now is thread my machine, just so you can see how easy it is. We're going to take our thread, place it on your spool, and thread 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, 5, and 6 is down here. 7 is right here. 8 is cutting the thread, and 9 is pressing the needle threader. And that's all she writes. That's all she does, and that's all done. And you put the thread underneath the foot if you like. All right. Now I'm going to go. What I'm going to do here, guys, is I'm going to I'm turning off my lock stitch. I'm turning off my cutter. I'm just going to start sewing. And I'm going to start with this chiffon or this organza. And I'm going to change my speed. And I'm not going to do anything but sew, guys. I'm using standard needle. And I'm going to sew different weights of fabric. And you notice how that foot is racing? What's really cool is that I'm going to sew all these different weights. When I get to the fabric, it raises that foot. That toe senses how thick my fabric is. And it's going to raise it, sew it properly for me so I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to go to my marine vinyl. My bad, because I didn't have it stuck there. Now, when you're sewing with marine vinyl, you should use your Teflon foot, or you should use your roller foot, the dual feed. It will just keep everything rolling simple underneath here. What it is, the friction of that fabric wants to stick to your foot. I can sew right off of that fabric and onto this fabric with no issues of jamming. I'm going to take a heavy duty canvas. Notice that my machine stops with the foot up so I can turn and pivot. I have organza stuck there. There we go. I'm going to sew and sew. And go right through that. Now, I can change my stitch length when I work with a thicker fabric. And then what's cool is that I can just hit my reverse button. Right? So again. And then hit cutter. It cuts the thread. And it just lifts the foot. And I can just take all this out. And what I love I'm going to tell you right now, is the fact that I can sew all these fabric weights with a standard needle. Of course, I would want to use a proper needle with each fabric because it gives me better results. But see how fabulous the stitch looks, no matter what weight of thickness and fabric, it cray-cray, it sews, show nicely. And you're talking about a perfect straight stitch. I'm going to tell you right now, Baby Lock and Juki has really pretty straight stitches. So if you are a Juki owner, you know the results. But in this gorgeous, love the fact that I sewed all this with no issues at all. Now other function I want to show you that is just totally too cool is when I'm stitching with this machine, is I have in front of my needle, there's a function over here. This is called a needle beam, or well, I call it a needle beam. It's called, the proper thing for Baby Lock is guide beam. Okay, the guide beam comes on. What that guide beam does, I'm gonna get closer so that you can see this. It's a beam that shines in front of your needle, and that beam can be moved by hitting plus over here. To the side of your foot. Okay, so you can go beyond the foot. Now, some of us will use tape on our machine. Well, isn't that gross to put tape on your machine? Well, you don't have to do that anymore. You can move that. And what's nice is that will give you your seam allowance. That's a 1/2 inch. And we're going to go there. And I can use that guide beam to sew my seam. Now, that's too cool, right? I love that, and so I'm using my guide beam as my seam allowance, to guide my edge of my fabric all the way down to the edge of this one. Now, what's really cool, guys, is that when you're doing line quilting and rows and rows of quilting, well, what you can do is line that guide beam next to where you just stitched, and your guide beam will follow the straight stitch of that, and you would just feed that in, and then that will be equal spacing of seam allowances or channel quilting. And I tell people it's just like driving a new car. What you're going to do is you're going to put this beam on and you're going to test it. You're going to play with it until you figure out where your guide beam needs to go. And once you have that down, once you've done that, the training is done. You're good. Now, if I need more distance, let's say that this spacing between here and here was not strong enough, or was not big enough, or large enough for me. Well, I can take my needle position and move my needle position to the far left, and then use the guide beam again. And what I will do then is I have a larger distance between the two straight stitching. No, that's a quiet machine, by the way. And there we go. Now, another thing that I love about my guide beam, okay, is this is just the bomb here. On our machine, we have the capability to go to our decorative stitches, and they have big quilting stitches, which really make life a lot easier. So I need to find my quilt group that I'm looking for. There are a lot of quilting stitches in here. So I'm looking for my larger stitches. Here we go. I'm getting there. And I'm going to pick this nice, cool adjustment here. This is what they call the, see how large that stitch is? Now that stitch, guys, is much larger than 9 millimeters. See the foot here that you're going to use? It tells me foot in. What I would like to do when I use my guide beam is I like to move, because my stitch is so large, I like to move my guide beam so that it's on the edge of my wave. Okay? That is going to be my guidance beam that I'm going to use to line my straight stitch here. Okay? Use that as my guidance. I'm going to snap this foot off, and I'm going to put my other foot that comes with the machine, which I have moved. Where did I move that? Oh, right here. Here you go. I'm going to put foot in on. Foot in is a perfect foot. And I'm going to put my other foot up here, because that's a nice little storage area to put all your everyday feet that you're going to use every time. Now, if you take a look at this, what I'm going to do is take the guide beam, and I'm going to zoom in so you can see. Put my foot down. As you see here, that straight stitch and that guide beam is going to be my guidance. Now, if I wanted to, I could do my basting stitch. I don't want to rip this out. But this right here could be also, maybe this was a seam. Maybe this was the stitch in the ditch, and I just want to do some quilting, channel quilting with my machine. Well, you put the guide beam on whatever focal point that you need. It could be a seam, it could be a ditch, it could be your binding, it could be a basting stitch. And you're going to use that, instead of marking your fabric, you're going to use that beam to guide your fabric. I'm going to sew slowly and keep my stitch parallel to the straight stitch, and the beam is equal distance as it moves over. And you can see it's going to do quilting for me. And what I love is that this is perfect size to go into a jelly roll. And you keep on sewing, equal distance between beam and straight stitch. And it will give you this, I mean, it is the coolest thing. And look, a lot of these big designs are on the machine over here. A lot of them are made that way. You always know where the starting point is on your stitching, because it shows you there. It could be different points, could be on the opposite side of that end foot. But you know where to put that beam. And that is the coolest thing. A lot of people who have machines like this don't even know they have this capability. And that's what I show in a lot of the classes I teach. When you buy your machine from us, you'll get these lessons and you'll learn all these functions of your machine. And I just sew. And I'm going to hit my lock button. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. I'm going to back off a little bit. I'm going to hit my lock button up here, that little bullseye I was telling you about, and it's going to complete my stitch. It's going to end my stitch and lock it. And it's going to lock it in place. I have perfectly lined up my straight stitch for my next row of stitching if I want to. But that's nice, because if you need to get up and leave, and you can always lock the stitch and then resume sewing again, and it's lined up and ready to roll. You won't ever make a mistake. Hit your cutter, and guys, take a look at this fabulous stitch. Isn't that cool? And you can do that with your quilting, and it's perfect width for your size, your what you call it, jelly rolls, sashing. It is about 2.5 inch wide. It is 2 inches, I think, with a complete set. But isn't that awesome? And you can mirror image the design, so it will mirror image the opposite way if you need to go the opposite way. You can mirror image so it goes up and down. It's the bomb. Now let's go back to our straight stitch. I'm gonna go over here. What I want to do is go to my grouping, my plain everyday utility stitch group. When I go from here, this screen that looks yellow orange turns into blue. I want to show you a basting stitch. I'm going to turn my beam off. And I'm going to cheat and use this foot, but watch what this does. It bastes my stitch 20 millimeters. I can go larger. So when I want to sandwich, I love saying that word, sandwich. I can baste my quilts together. So then I can go over here, I can do another basting stitch. This is great, because you know why? You have to pin. Why pin when you can baste? Oh my word, right? Love this. Now, I'm just showing you the fundamentals of what this machine does as a sewing machine. The embroidery part is crazy as well. It's wonderful. Here's your speed control right here. This is your press a foot down, cutter, needle down, lock, reverse. You can sew without the foot. But this right here is your baster. Isn't that crazy? And what it does, it puts a basting stitch on so that your tension is relaxed so it doesn't pull your fabric. Oh, my chickens. I like to say, oh, my chickens when it's something like cray-cray, right? Love that, all right? So I baste a lot. If I want to go into, let's do some other things. Let's go back to my quilt group. So I'm going to go to the Q group, and I'm going to go to stitch number 1. And number 1 says P, and it says piecing, and it tells me to put the piecing, the foot J back on right here. So I'm going to put foot J on. The foot J is on my machine. And I'm going to slide in, and I'm going to now use the 1/4-inch foot, the 1/4-inch guide that's on my straight stitch plate. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see. There's a 1/4-inch mark right there. Now, what we do normally is we would sew an eyeball, right? You're going to eyeball, and you're eyeballing, and you're eyeballing. Well, that's why eyeball when you can go beam and move it to the 1/4-inch marking. Isn't that too cool? All right, and that is your 1/4-inch marking. So that right there, when I move my fabric over, you can see that it's on 1/4-inch. That gives me a guidance. Instead of just eyeballing, I have it right there in front of the foot. When my foot goes down, this is giving me a guidance from here all the way down here. Look at that. Isn't that crazy? Love it. Now, we're going to start stitching. Don't you just love this grunge? Now, you know, guys, this is on sale as we're speaking. If you're a grunge moto person that wants to buy grunge, it is online to midnight. Online right now for 15% off our everyday low price of $10.95. It is normally $10.98. It is normally $12.98 everywhere else. Okay? We have Fabric Hut always gives you a $2 or $3 discount anyway. And today, Doug approved it for 15% off. And you have until midnight to do that online, or you can come back and watch me at 5 for a happy hour show. I'm going to start stitching. Remember, I moved my beam to my 1/4-inch, and I'm going to start piecing. And I went to my quilt group. The reason why I went to my quilt group, because what I want, guys, is I want my stitching to be made for piecing. I don't want this long everyday sewing stitch. I want one for piecing so that my seams don't come apart when I'm starting to stitch. Put my foot down, start stitching, and my beam is working for me. And what I love about it is that I can buy my 1/4-inch foot, or either, I think it might come with it, I'm not sure. I'll look at that and make sure. I can get my 1/4-inch foot. That beam is just going to help me guide my 1/4-inch even better. Anything that gives you a little bit more clarity of where your seam is, you're going to be happier with it. And we're going to just stitch. I noticed that I sewed off my fabric. I don't need a leader. And I can stitch. Okay, you see that, right? Isn't that cool? All right. Now, what I also love to use on my machine, I'm going to hit cutter. And I'm going to open this up so you can see how pretty. Now, I'm going to try to see what comments are because my phone doesn't show me everything, okay? But this is my perfect 1/4-inch seam allowance. All right? And I used the beam with my standard foot. I did not have to use a special foot. Now, also I love to do half square triangles. Well, when you want to do a half square triangle, there's only a couple things you need to do, okay? I will show you that in... Let's do this. Let's go. So you can see how nice that beam, how shiny it is, right? It is bright. And just in case you did not see, I used the beam with previous stitches as my guidance. And remember, I'm not in front of my machine as a normal person. I'm sitting on the side, and I'm not right like sitting underneath the cabinet. So if I was comfortably sitting here, I would be able to do this very comfortable and very easily and guide this perfect. But as you can see, I'm still doing a pretty good job. And there's your beam. And I have something else to show you. Okay, so let's say that if you're doing some applique with your machine. Okay, guys?
Oh, I don't see anything. Well,
he might be in the back. I heard a bunch of noise back here.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk about something else here. Let's say that we're doing Jane, because this is something that you most of you guys always have. All of us have issues with trying to applique straight, right?
Right.
Okay. Right, Wayne?
Yeah.
Right. So let's say that we take our fabric and we place it here and we spray and everything, right? We're going to spray it and all that good stuff. But what I want to do now is I want to do a zigzag stitch. So I'm going to go to my satin stitch here. And I'm going to zoom out just a quick moment here, okay? And what I want to do, I know that the beam is here, but I want to make some alter. I don't want this big zigzag. I don't want a 6 millimeter. I want about a 4 millimeter zigzag, right? And I'm gonna satin it a little bit more. When I say satin it, I'm making it really tight. You see how pretty that is?
Mm-hmm, that is pretty.
And you see this beam? That little line there, I can move to the edge of my zigzag.
Okay.
Now, y'all who've been following me know that I've been using that beam with previous stitching as my guidance. I'm going to use that beam now to zigzag right on the edge of that. Hello.
Okay.
And I'm going to use my end foot because it tells me in, but also if I have my open toe, I would prefer that instead. But put the foot on. And watch this craziness. You're going to stitch. Oh, I'm going to activate my lock and my cutter. I have all my activations on, so I'm cruising now. That's what I call it. When I tell people to do that, you're cruising. All right, the machine's going to stop with the needle down. It's going to stitch. I'm going to go faster, a little bit longer stitch length. I don't want to stitch after that. And I'm just give me a moment. I want that raw edge and that beam to sew side by side. I'm no longer looking at the needle, I'm looking at the beam and the fabric edge. When I get to the edge of my fabric, I stitch off once, sew to the right, the needle's over here, you turn, quarter, turn a little bit more, you're going to reinforce that corner, then you're going to turn back around. That beam lines up with the edge, and you're going to have a perfect miter corner, or a perfect tapered corner, not tapered, but miter. And you're just sewing with that beam. So off the fabric, can they see? Okay, yeah. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. You know why? I want them to see that needle. I'm going to move y'all guys over to this side of the foot. I'm going to slide my foot over here so I can get in here a little bit better too. All right. Isn't that pretty cool, Wayne?
It is.
Mm-hmm. I'll see, my bad. Okay, so the edge of the foot, I'm going to sew. If I had an open toe, you'd probably be able to see better. But I'm going to sew off of the edge of the fabric, the green fabric. Make sure you're always on the right swing of that zigzag, and you're going to do a quarter turn. You're going to stitch.
So I'm sorry,
right.
Is it you stitch just slightly off?
Right off the off, just so that you can, when you turn and you pivot. See, I've gone a little too far here.
Okay.
So I'm gonna fix myself, and I'm lining the beam up.
Okay.
That little fix won't hurt, right? You just want to stitch like one. You just want to cover that raw edge. Now, I just hit my cutter. I have a multi foot control. And I was talking to Wayne, and I hit that little short one, like the clutch, and it cut my thread. So I'm going to reposition myself. Now, I'm going to try to do it so they can really see. Hold on. There you go. That's better. How about that? Now, that's when you call yourself, you get out to being spoiled now. All right. Put my foot down. I'm going to stitch. And I am all over the place with this on this camera, just so you know. So I'm going to stitch down. I'm going to cover that edge of that corner. I don't want to see any green. Green's gone.
Okay.
And then I'm going to do a slight turn. About 45. Right? You're going to do a couple stitches.
Okay.
I like to do, just a couple. And then you can do one stitch at a time. And then you just turn, and then see all that's covered. And then what that little couple of stitches does, it gets that nice reinforced corner. Stitch right on down.
And it looks neat.
And it looks very neat, and it's very clean. You don't see a bulkiness. When I stitch to this point here, I'm going to go right over top of that zigzag I previously stitched. Slow down so you can see. And when I get to this point, because I hit my lock button, right? I can hit lock. It will lock it in place, cut the thread, and lift the foot. And then you have this perfect, well, not perfect, because then, I am doing this on an angle. But with this, you can see how pretty that stitch group, see how that's nice?
Yeah, it is beautiful.
And look how gorgeous that stitch is. But you can play, and you can get this down pat. There's no eyelashes.
Yeah, I see. Because
the guide beam helps you, okay? That's really cool.
Yeah, that is.
And I love that. And now let's do some, now I'm going to show you another thing. Topaz, you can always watch it later on, girl. I'm not going to change, I'm not going to delete it. I'm going to now get you up high. And now what I want to do is half square triangles with no marks. We're not going to mark our fabric. And what I'm going to do, guys, is go to my piecing stitch right here, number 1. Whenever you want to turn that beam off, you can just simply touch it and it goes away. And that's all. Now, I'm going to put the beam back on. And it remembered where I had it last. So I want that beam to be on the center of my straight stitch. Because that is the center. 3.5 is where I want to be. And what it is, you don't see the beam anymore, but the beam is still there because you can see that little triangle is there, okay? That's your straight stitch center, middle needle position. When you go to your machine, it's straight stitch in the middle. And that's stitching in the ditch, which is perfect, which I'm going to show real quick. So if I want to stitch in the ditch, remember, guys, I'm going to be straddling the camera. So it might not be perfect. Okay? So I'm going to try my best. So the camera's in front. If I want to stitch in the ditch, it locks in place. And my beam will stay in the center of that fabric. Now, what you can do, because you have control of that beam, you can move that beam over. Just so that you have that perfect ditch, right? But you have those options to change the ditch. Now, let's say that I wanted to applique. I can go there, and I can change my beam again where I want my beam to be, and stitch. And now I have an applique perfectly stitching in the ditch. Remember, I'm on the angle, guys. So let's see how well I did, because like I said, I was on a crazy angle. But you see how that line is there. So now, if I do it correctly, I can actually have perfect stitching. But that's because I was on an angle. You see? Just gotta find where you put that beam. Now, let's do half square triangles. I'm gonna put that back in the center. I want it in the center of my needle. This time, I'm going to go to my stitch. I'm going to choose the right needle position. Just bear with me. And this is pretty much our demo for the day. This is going to be it. Remember, our grunge is special price now for you ladies and boys at home. You're going to put your squares together. Make sure you have the right 5-inch squares. Oh, did I do? Oh, you know what? I think oh my word. I might not have cut all these in 5. Right. My bad. Okay. So here's my right side. Here's my right sides together. And you know, bear with me. I did not trim these properly. I was rushing. So I'm going to sew from this point to this point. I'm going to take my fabric, and I want to make sure that I am the point and the straight stitch point of this is going to be perfect, going to be matching. So I'm going to sew one side. Let me get my thread. I'm so sorry, my bad. Thread my machine. And I'm going to try to do this while I'm standing in front. So I'm going to go right to that point where this point is matching the point of my beam. And I want this point to match the beam. I'm not going to mark my fabric. I'm just guiding my fabric point to point. Beam is my guide. You see that? Isn't that gorgeous? Look, right there. I'm going to go ahead and grab another piece of fabric.
Well, she's not going to be working on it next week. No.
This is, guys, you talking about cray cray? This is cray cray. So there's my straight stitch right there. You see that my needle position of my machine is over to the quarter. So it's going to give me a quarter. So what I'm going to do is this point to point. I'm going to sew, keeping my point here. Now, some people will mark their fabric, but I can actually stitch it without marking it because I know that that beam is right in front and I know that my point is matching. You see how gorgeous that is, right? I'm going to sew right down to the point. I'm going to turn my fabric around. And now I match my point to point here. My beam in my machine is point to point. You can see that I'm off a little bit on this one, so I'm going to cut this real quick and fix it. I'm just going to trim this. But it's a two-step procedure, not a three-step procedure. That was where I stitched before. So I'm going to go this direction. That's the proper direction. So I'm going to sew point to point, lining that beam out to that point. And there she goes. And you see how the machine is feeding that fabric pretty straight. I'm going to just line this up. Point, If I'm off a little bit, guys, just bear with me. But you see how guidance can help you a great deal. Clearing, cutting the thread. You would then simply trim that fabric in between. You would trim this fabric in between. I'm going to do that real quick. And then bring my ruler out here, so. And here I go, half square triangles. And it's really cool because I just used the beam the whole time to be able to do that. And if I don't know if these are 5x5s, I might cut them kind of odd. But notice that that beam is going to guide you wherever you want. And there's multiple use of that beam. You can applique with it. You can do stitch in the ditch with it. You can do anything that you need guidance. Instead of marking your fabric, save time, cut your beam on, and roll with it. One more thing I'm going to show you is the walking foot. Because the dual feed, because the dual feed goes on the machine very easily. We're going to back off just a little bit. And it can be used also with the beam. And you're going to just simply unscrew this large screw. This is a high shank machine. And the high shank machine allows you to, gives you more space between here and here. When you're looking at other products, guys, out there, even with embroidery, a lot of times this distance between here and here is short, and you get a shadow, or maybe you get not as much clearance. Your fingers can't get in there. Well, this machine is made so that your fingers can get in there and adjust your screws. Let me just hold that right there. So even my fat fingers, I can get in here and work with it. And then this screws in. And guys, you also have a little plug-in right here. This little plug-in plugs into the back of the machine. That makes the machine aware that you're using the walking foot. And when it goes on the machine recognizes that you're using that foot. And it's called a DF, which is dual feed. And when you put that on, you don't get that clunky sound. You're going to get, it's going to be like a little motor riding over top of the fabric. So I'm just going to put the needle beam in the center of the foot. And I'm going to stitch. So you don't even know that you're using a dual feed. Because the machine, this wheel is gripping the fabric and rolling it. So it's gripping it and rolling. It's a very large, it's like a big tire on your foot. And the faster I go, the better, it doesn't make any sound. And I'm not really using the beam. I'm just showing you how easy this machine does feed no matter what you're doing. Isn't that cool? And you can base, you can zigzag, you can do anything with this foot. It doesn't have limitations on what stitch you use. Pretty cool, huh? Now, do y'all have any questions about the machine? It is on sale, guys. We have wonderful financing with all of our products. Remember, it does embroidery, and it does all your top-of-line sewing. And I'm just going to see if anyone has any questions at all about the Baby Lock Altair. I love it. I think it's a perfect machine. Remember, I had the Destiny 2, and it was very similar to this machine. It gave me all the features I showed you today, which I used for all my quilting needs and all the fun projects I did embroidery wise. And when I want to embroider, ladies, to show you before I close out, I'm going to simply, well, first thing I'm going to do is take that foot off, because I don't need that foot. Let's just show you how easy that is. You unplug the foot, take the foot off. That's done. You don't have to use that anymore. Your embroidery foot has the same mechanism, okay? So it goes onto the machine with a wire that plugs in. It's called the W foot. Just gotta get it on. There we go. We're gonna go on. And I always use my little screwdriver to tighten all my feet that are going on a machine that are dual feed or either the embroidery foot. Always tighten it with a screwdriver that comes with the machine so that it doesn't fall off when you're stitching. And when you want to embroider, you're going to hit home. And what question are you asking, Jane? Because when you say just Baby Lock, I don't catch everything. You're going to hit OK. And if you're asking if it's just Baby Lock versus a Viking, it is just Baby Lock. I don't know if that's the question you have, but so the question, because I want to answer it properly. All right. So when you go there, you're going to hit OK. Hit OK, and that's it. And then you're going to put your embroidery unit, Give me a minute. You're going to slide this on. Now remember, I'm trying to do this on an angle. You're just going to slide this on. And I'm trying to show you so that you can see. This is going to go. This little part right here. This part here goes into the little slide. Like so. And then you're going to take this lever and you're going to push it down. The machine then recognizes that you have the foot on, or the hoop on. You're going to open this up. And we're going to just simply touch a fun stitch over here. Let's just do something crazy and fun. Let's do that little swirly thing. I'm going to do that little dress. Hit that. And I'm going to edit the size down because I don't want it to sew for days. So we're going to go to about 5 by 5. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to move my design up to the top of the machine. And I'm going to let it stitch just a little bit so I can see what Jane is questioning me. I'm going to talk to what's her name back. All right, it takes about 2 minutes to stitch, so we're going to hit OK and let it stitch that. And I think Jess answered your question, Jane. That foot is a Baby Lock foot. You know, when I show different feet, guys, on our products, the Juki, the Baby Lock, they're exclusive. They are made for these machines. If you are a Bernino or a Viking or, you know, a Janome that has an odder item, I would say, you know, I always try to say, hey, that might work on your machine. But these feet are Baby Locks, and most of the feet I show with Juki will fit Juki. Some of the Janomes it will fit, but Bernino and Viking guys, y'all are in your own realm, okay? Because they make those machines differently. So hopefully that answers your question. But look, this is pretty cool. I'll see if I can show it this way. I should have at least got a better looking thread. Oh. It's a little dress. And that's nice because it could be an edge-to-edge quilt group, see? So those you can add and make that a whole border. And that is what that's her. That's how pretty she is. Isn't that pretty cool? Sorry, my bad. So I'm gonna slide down. Let's see if we can get you to see. Well, that was a very faint outline of a stitch, but you can see a little bit of it. See the little scissors. Pretty cool. Now, since y'all are still here, just a few of you guys are still here, let me just show you something else that you can do to make that an endless border. Hit OK when you finish your embroidery, and it shows you that design, right? Oopsie, my bad. Let's do this. Let's go back. I'm going to show you now. I'm going to go return. I'm going to make this an endless border. So I'm going to touch my endless border function, and I'm going to hit plus. And what I've done here is I've added another design. I'm going to center that in the center of my hoop. Now what I can do is I can sew that as two different designs on a sashing or in my quilt, and I just made that really fun and easy. Isn't that pretty cool? I can also go delete. And let's go to this fancy stitch here, and I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to size it down. And I can take him, and I can move him up here on the very tippy top and make him a border. By simply touching that, I can space it so they don't touch. Hit OK. Hit embroidery. If I want to, I can hit layout and move it into the center of my hoop, or I can move it to the side of my hoop. I can also grab it and put it in the corner. It is the coolest, darndest thing. If you ever want a machine, let me know. We do ship out to you guys. Don't forget, we got our grunge special going on tonight at 5 o'clock. Doug is going to help me with that. And if you are interested in buying grunge right now, it is on sale right now for 15% off our everyday low price of $10.98, which is amazing price by itself. And then the wide backs are also 15% off. But you can do that now, or you can wait till 5. If you shop now, you guarantee getting that price point. Tomorrow will be our blowout sale at 12 o'clock, which is we have a cart of fabrics that are new that we didn't have. And somebody questioned me about some particular boutiques. I don't have any those boutiques in the bulk. In the bulk sale, guys, is basically whatever we have that's in the store, we put in that cart. So we never know what's going to be there. It's always a surprise for us and a surprise for you on Friday at 12. And then at 4 o'clock this week only, because after this week we're going to start doing them at 5 o'clock. Okay, we're going to do our shopping spree, and it is flannel. So it's going to be Northcott flannel and any of those flannels, and we're going to have a special buy so you can buy some flannel tomorrow at 4. Until then, guys, we'll see y'all in a little bit. I hope you have a great day. If you have any questions, give us a call, 757-588-1300, option 1. And if you want to come in and look at our baby locks, please do. And on the 25th, we're actually going to have the director and educator from Baby Lock headquarters joining in with our Facebook Live. She's going to do a demonstration on the Solaris. All right? And that following Saturday, I'm going to invite you in here for you to try out one of our Solarises and one of our Baby Lock machines. So keep an eye out for those breaking news. Thanks. Bye.